Well, today we have, as we are Young Alumni Spotlight, Mike Greengarten. Some of you may know Mike is the brain behind a lot of the social media that goes on with the R Fund, previously with Rutgers Athletics. He's a Rutgers alumnus, class of 2014, actually a two-time Rutgers alumnus, as he recently graduated with a global sports business master's. He has generously agreed to join us as our Young Alumni Spotlight for the month of May. So Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jordan. I appreciate it.
All right, so let's jump right into it. So you graduated class of 2014. What brought you to Rutgers?
Well, ever since I was 3 years old, I've been coming to Rutgers games, sporting events with my dad and my family, from football to baseball to playing on the field at URSAC, during halftime at soccer games, everything, men's basketball, women's basketball, every sport. I was always on campus. I was always around Rutgers. I was born in St. Peter's in New Brunswick. So my family was always around Rutgers University. And ever since I was 3, I've always wanted to come here, and I was able to, to come and be a double, graduate, double degree from Rutgers, and able to finally work back here in the athletic department, which was always the dream.
You said your father and your grandfather?
Yeah, so my dad was a huge Rutgers fan growing up. He brought me to all the games. Before the student section was there, football games, I sat in section 103 at men's basketball games. I played on the soccer field at URSAC. So he'd always bring me around. And my grandfather, my uncle actually, Alan Stull, he played for the 1950 Rutgers College World Series baseball team. And he has an endowed scholarship named after him now here. So he always used to bring me around as well. And my whole family grew up in Highland Park, Edison, New Brunswick. So I was always around Rutgers, and this is always where I wanted to be.
So you didn't really have a chance, did you?
It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Rutgers University, the trajectory that it's going now with President Holloway, with Pat Hobbs, with Carly Northup, Sarah Bumgarner, Liz Boyd, everyone that I work with and everyone that works here. It's an incredible place to be, and there's no place I'd rather be than Rutgers University.
Well, let's talk about when you were a student.
Yep.
You were a couple different societies. You worked, I believe, with the athletics department as a student, right? What are kind of some of your most meaningful experiences when you were a student at Rutgers?
So since I was 10 years old, I wanted to be an athletic director. And
that's awesome.
Before I was 10, I wanted to be the next Derek Jeter. So I went to the doctor. The doctor said, you're going to be 5'8". I looked at my data, and he said, you're not going to be the next shortstop for the New York Yankees. And I said, no, you're right. I'm not. And at that point, I met my stepfather, Kevin McHugh, and he was the athletic director at TC&J at the time. And ever since I met Kevin, and through his time in collegiate athletics, I've always wanted to work in college athletics because of him. And so while I was working here at Rutgers, I got to work with Will Gilkison in football operations. I got to work with Drew Robinson in social media and branding and marketing. I got to work in the ticket office. I got to work with our sponsorship team. I got to work in so many different areas right here at Rutgers University because of my time and the work that I was able to do. People trusted me to do a great job, and I'll never forget those times as an intern. And one time in particular, the West Virginia game where Eric LeGrand came out of the tunnel. I'll never forget that game. I didn't work the game, but just being there and seeing that happen, and just going into the bathroom and warming up my hands for hours because it was so cold. And then when they retired Eric's number, 52, I was the one who gave Coach Flood the sword. I was holding the sword the whole game. That's literally the only job I had the whole game as an intern, was to hold the sword that Coach Flood was going to hold up when Eric's number was, shown on the, in the upper deck. So I was able to do that. So I'll never forget those times.
That's pretty awesome. And you worked at a couple different schools. You worked at Thomas College, you worked at Bates, you worked at Princeton.
Yeah.
First of all, working at Princeton when you're a Rutgers guy, okay, we'll let it slide. But kind of what's the difference having all those different experiences? Anything that was really stood out to you?
So with Princeton, though, there's a Rutgers connection. Brett McConnell is the associate head coach for the Princeton men's basketball team, and he was a manager here at Rutgers. And he came to speak in one of my classes because I was a sport management major. And after class, not many people went up to him to say hello, but I went up and I introduced myself. And 4 months later, we kept in touch, and he offered me an internship. And we've been, really good friends ever since, not just a working relationship, but we have a personal relationship, which is great. Brett's awesome. So I got to intern with him because of the Rutgers connection. But again, just to be an athletic director, be well-rounded, and the sports industry is so extremely difficult to get into, to get your foot in the door. So I felt that I needed the most experience that I could possibly get. I need to get the most experience possible. Interning at Bates College with my stepfather, going down to intern with Brett. I worked the summer with the Rockland Boulders up in Rockland County, New York, in minor league baseball. And let me tell you, that's a different experience. And they do a great job up there in Rockland County with the Boulders. So I got to do all that. But all of that is because Rutgers University afforded me the opportunity and gave me the tools and skills necessary to be able to, compete in this industry.
So you graduate 2014.
Yep.
You end up going off to work for the MAC, Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference.
Correct.
And then you end up coming back to Rutgers as the assistant director for marketing and promotions.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what it was like leaving Rutgers for the first time, because obviously, this is coming out when a lot of students are graduating and leaving
Sure.
Rutgers and heading off. And tell us a little bit about how you kind of were lured back.
So I will say the first game I ever worked, because at the MAC, first off, the MAC is great. Rich Enzer is the commissioner there. He gave me the opportunity. Barbara Church was my direct boss supervisor. She gave me a great opportunity. I worked with some great people there, Lily Rodriguez being one of them. But she, when I came back and I worked my first ever MAC game as a MAC employee, it was Monmouth at Rutgers. And so I had to come back to Rutgers and sit up in the media area, and for the first time in my life, I had to root against Rutgers, because I believe that where you work, you should be rooting for that institution, or in my case, institutions, because I worked for the conference. So I rooted for Monmouth, and that was a very challenging experience for me. But I got through that. Working at the MAC was great, and then obviously after my time at the MAC was done, it was a 1-year fellowship. Rutgers gave me the opportunity to come back here, and it was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up.
You mentioned something about rooting for the school you work at. Is that something where you and Rob Roselli, who's director of marketing at Rutgers, kind of went back and forth? Because I know he's a Penn State grad.
Yeah.
I'm calling him out.
Yeah, no, he is a Penn State grad, but I will give him a lot of credit. He always rooted for Rutgers first and foremost. It was probably tough on him knowing Rob. But he always rooted for Rutgers. He's always been loyal to Rutgers, and he also got his master's degree from Rutgers. So technically, he's an alum of Rutgers now too.
We'll let him pass. So you come back and you're working as assistant director of marketing, and relatively quickly you then move into director of marketing and fan experience. Were there specific Rutgers experiences as a student? Things you did as a student, or jobs you did as a student, or classes you had that helped you, as you're kind of working on your professional career?
Well, first and foremost, I believe that the sport management major, exercise science and sports studies is what it was called, again, gave me the tools and skills necessary to be able to work in this industry. And it also gave me the platform to build my network and build my experience. So, having all these different experiences and operations, ticket sales, ticket operations, sponsorships, all those opportunities were because of what I learned in the in the sport management program, let alone the global sports business master's program. So I learned a lot as an undergrad, just, in all my positions, with all my experience, with all my professors, Professor Finkelstein, Art Burke, everyone that, I had the pleasure of, being a student under, Jason Belzer, Sam Cayucci, everyone that I can think of or even can't think of, they all just gave me those tools. And it's because of Rutgers University that I'm able to come back and use those skills and hone those skills to be the best I can possibly be in my position. But also, if you remember correctly, Jordan, I met you in my first position, and man, you hit the ground running with everything you did with the riot squad. I don't know if everyone knows here, or if everyone's seen Jordan in action, but him in the student section in his prime was the best. We needed 1,000 Jordan Cohens to be successful, especially in the early years working with men's basketball. We needed 1,000 of you, Jordan. We really did. I wish we could have replicated you.
That's a terrifying thought. That is an honestly terrifying thought.
Now it is, but at the time we needed 1,000 of you.
That's just a weird image. That was before I got the blazer too.
I know. You with the blazer though, yeah, we probably need maybe half the 1,000, maybe like 500. We didn't need more with the blazer.
I'll put this out here. I remember they used a picture of me with the blazer, just screaming my head off for season tickets. No one told me this was happening. And I actually had my father, who's a Rutgers alum, send me the picture. Says, "What did they tell you?" There was like, I actually sent the picture of the tweet to Rob, and I said, "You guys did me dirty on this. I've got like veins popping out. My head is the same color as the blazer."
Yeah, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you had a voice for game after game, because you were screaming your head off every single game.
It's a fun time. Did you ever sit in the student section as a student, lose your voice?
I did. Yep. Front row.
So, I mean, you were talking about all these things you did, bring out, getting that fan support, and you talk about the riot squad, and I know that was a big part of your job, was getting students to the games. Were there experiences as a student that helped you overcome any specific challenges? Can you talk about like something specific you worked on?
So as a student, just sitting in the student section, I made a fathead of former athletic director Tim Pernetti. And I was brand new. I was a sophomore. I didn't know anyone, but I knew I wanted to work in collegiate athletics. I knew I wanted to be an athletic director one day. So I made a fathead of Tim, and I sat front row of the student section for a big game. I think we played Syracuse. He came over. I said, Tim, can you sign this? He signed it. And then I said, my name is Mike Greengarten. I want to be an athletic director since I was 10 years old. Can you give me 30 minutes of your time at some point down the road? I'd love to just pick your brain. He said, yeah, let's do it. Shoot me an email. I shot him an email. A few months later, I'm in his office. He gave me an hour of his time. I picked his brain. It was awesome. And, just being creative in the student section at a men's basketball game gave me the opportunity to meet Tim and pick his brain. And that's a moment I'll never forget.
So you've been involved with 3 different athletic directors at Rutgers,
Yes.
between Tim Pernetti, Julie Herman, and now Pat Hobbs. Do you mind tell us a little bit about kind of the different styles, and what you did and how the athletic department's changed over the years?
First, I mean, Tim was great. He was always really good to me. He's still good to me. We talk here and there. Julie is a great person as well. She always treated me right, and she did right by, everyone in the department. And then Pat is just what he's done with facilities, what he's done just with our student athletes and with our coaches. And it's incredible. I mean, you go to the RWJ Barnabas Health Athletic Performance Center and you can see for yourself. You go to the Gary and Barbara Rockin Academic Success Center, and you'll just see these brand new facilities to support our student athletes. I mean, it's incredible. And there's just more to come, and And you see the success we're having right now on the field. Rowing is now ranked number 4 in the country. Men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, soccer's in the NCAA tournament for the 9th straight year, women's soccer. Everyone is on the rise, and it took steps to get there. And everyone played a role, and Pat's just done an incredible job, and we're lucky to have his leadership.
And talking about everyone playing a role, I mean, the big part of what we're doing with these Young Alumni Spotlights is showing the amazing experiences, but also the accomplishments, showing that you don't have to have been out of Rutgers for 20 years, 30 years to really make your mark.
Right.
tell us a little bit about, and we'll go into your R Fund experience in a second, but tell us a little bit about maybe an accomplishment or two that you saw make an impact when you were working in with athletics.
An accomplishment of mine, you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just, I will say that the biggest accomplishment that I think that I've had was just making the fan experience better. And I truly believe, and I still believe it in my role with the R Fund, to try to make every single fan experience the best it could possibly be. So when you leave your house, Rob and I and Lisa and our whole marketing team used to talk about the driveway to driveway experience. When you leave your house and when you come home from an event, how do you feel? Did you have a great experience when you parked? Did you have a great experience when you came through the tickets? When you showed your tickets? When you went up to the merchandise stand to get something? When you went to get something from the food and concession stand? Was the halftime entertainment fun? Was there a cool giveaway? Was it a great game? So my basic accomplishment here is making each fan feel great. And when I used to see fans at the rack and I saw a little kid, I'd always make it a point to get a t-shirt, give it to that kid and say, here, I hope you're a Rutgers fan for life. Because that's how I started. I got a headband from Hervé Lamanzana after a basketball game and I never let go. And I've been a Rutgers person. I've been a Rutgers supporter and a fan ever since. And that's what I want to do with every single one of our fans, from little toddler to, beyond that. I just want everyone to have a great experience here. And beyond the accolades, that is my best accomplishment while at Rutgers.
Are there any specific fans or experiences that stand out to you?
I guess one story that stands out is Dave White. I'm sure you've heard it. He sat in section 206, I think, but the whole court club, shout out to the court club. Dave White sat in that section, and this is when things were tough in basketball. And I brought up a popcorn, lucky row the game to his section without knowing it. And he wasn't there. And so the next game I found out he wasn't there. So I went up and I gave him a box of popcorn for him and his family. And I said, thank you so much for your support. That's before I knew Dave. I didn't know Dave at the time. And I said, thank you for your support. I saw you missed the last game when it was your lucky row. I really hope you enjoyed the popcorn. And ever since then, we've been, really good friends ever since. And that's just one experience, but I don't care. The accolades doesn't matter. Social media doesn't matter. I do that for anyone. And you want everyone's experience to be great. And that's just one story that sticks out.
And then you moved over from, straight from athletics over to R Fund. What was kind of the impetus for that move?
So first off, the R Fund team is terrific. We have great people here, and I want to work with great people. The marketing people were also great. I worked with them for 4.5, 5 years. But in this industry, I want to continue to forward my career, and I wanted to learn about the development and fundraising piece of it. How does that all intertwine with athletics? What's the difference between a $15 million gift and a $1 gift? And what I've learned, it doesn't matter. Like we just want people to come in and support, no matter if it's $1 or $10 or $100 or $15 million. We just want people to support our student athletes. We want, the best possible resources for student athletes, from nutrition to tutoring to travel to equipment. We want our student athletes to have the best possible experience here that they possibly can. And it starts with, a $1 donation to a $10 donation. It doesn't matter. So that's what I've learned since I've been here. That's what we try to tell Rutgers supporters, that doesn't matter how much you donate. We just want you to support. And that's what we try to say every day.
And so, you're working at the R Fund, you're probably doing things a little bit differently and seeing kind of this, doing almost the same job sometimes, but it's looking at a different perspective in terms of fan engagement. Is that the fair way to say it?
Yeah, it's definitely a fair way to say it, because we're not asking our fans to, buy season tickets. Obviously, we want that to happen. And we tell our supporters, our fund donors, to buy season tickets, because there are many ways to support our student athletes, right? You can buy a ticket, you can donate, you can positive messages on social media, you can write them a letter. There's so many different ways to support our student athletes, and whatever way that our fans are capable of supporting your student athletes, we encourage that. But with our fund donors, it's just telling them that these great things our student athletes are doing, not just on the field, but in the classroom and in the community. I mean, we're setting records academically. When our student athletes were on campus, they were volunteering in the community, with soup kitchens, just donating clothes. It doesn't matter. All they do is support the community, and we just want our fans to support them back. So that's what I do, and I love it. It's such a great team to work for, and we have such great our fund supporters and our fund members here.
What do you plan for the future? What's the next career move?
I'm taking it day by day, Jordan. I love what I do right now, and we'll see what happens in the future. Again, my top goal since I was 10 years old is to be an athletic director at a Power 5 institution. And, you know, there are many different ways to get to that point, and I hope to one day get there. But right now I'm taking it day by day and just enjoying my time in my current role.
So what you haven't done is told Pat Hobbs that when he's ready to retire, you know, you're ready to pick up the slack, right?
I hope Pat never retires. He's done it. I'm lucky to work for him. I really am. I'm really lucky to work for him.
So, you know, obviously, you know, one of the questions that we ask is, you know, how do you like to stay involved with alma mater? I think that's pretty obvious. But how do you stay involved with kind of your friends and, you know, the social community that you had as a student?
I donate back to Rutgers. Just letting people know I donate back to support Rutgers University, not just athletics, but also academics. So I support as much as I can. I was in a fraternity, Phi Delta Theta. So we have a group chat. We still talk all the time with my fraternity brothers. So I talk to them a lot. Folks that I was on the floor with at Frelinghuysen Hall, I talk to them all the time. I'm going to someone's wedding that was in Frelinghuysen Hall my sophomore year. I'm going to his wedding, Sean and Stacy. I'm going to their wedding coming up. And then another fraternity brother of mine, Jerry Salvatore, is getting married to Rochelle. So just a lot of really good things. And Neil Matthews is getting married. Just all these people I went to school with are getting married. And I'm really lucky to be going to their weddings and be involved in it. So I try to keep in touch with these people as much as possible because Rutgers University was the best choice of my life, best experience of my life, those 4 years, actually 3 years as an undergrad because I transferred in. So I had to cram everything into 3 years, and I wish it could have been longer because there's no place I would rather have gone and no place I'd rather call my alma mater than Rutgers University.
Well, in that case, you know, obviously we're going to be putting these out to students in the School of Arts and Sciences and also, you know, graduating seniors. What kind of advice do you have for them?
Get as much experience in whatever field you have as possible right now. And I know right now is a tough time because of the pandemic, but there are ways to get involved. And even if you don't want to work in collegiate athletics, even if you don't want to work at a university, you can get involved right now, right on campus. You can get internships. You can get involved in clubs. You can be involved in virtual career fairs. I'm sure they're out there. You can talk to, you know, academic services. Just whatever you can do to get involved right now, you should get involved. That's how I was able to be hired back because I had all this experience right here at Rutgers, and they trusted me to do the job, even though I didn't have any marketing experience, 2 to 3 years of marketing experience, professional experience. I didn't have that, but they knew me, they trusted me, and you know, I was a quick learner. And if you want to get involved, now's the time to do it, and do it right here on campus. So that's number one. And number two, just cherish the moments that you have, the friends that you have, and stay in touch because man, how many years am I out now? 14. So I'm 7 years out now, which is a scary thought. But I wish I kept in touch with more people even. But you can do that right now. So stay in touch with those people, and continue to just enjoy the moments you have left. And hopefully when this all clears up, you can go back to Queens, you can enjoy a drink at the bar and just enjoy life back on campus. So that's really all I got for you, Jordan.
And for those who have graduated the last couple of years, and kind of what advice do you have for them?
My advice is if you don't have your dream job right now, I always tell students, You know, you have 50 years of your life yet to work before you retire, 45 years, whatever it might be. Don't worry about it. You're still young. You still have a bright future ahead of you. And, you know, you're still going to be working for another 45 to 50 years. So give it some time and don't stress if you don't have that dream job right now, because it's going to come as long as you work hard and you put yourself in the opportunities to get that job and to be in that career, you'll get there. But don't stress it right now, because you have a long time to work yet before you call it quits and retire in the Bahamas, you know?
Mike, thank you so much for jumping on with us. We really appreciate the time, and we look forward to the next big thing. And actually, one more thing before we go, because I have another minute. What was it like watching this year's NCAA March Madness tournament run?
It was one of the best experiences of my life. I was out in Indy. I was lucky to be out in Indy, and I wish all of our fans could have been out there. I wish you could have been out there. It was truly an incredible experience, and we'll never forget. And I'm so proud of that program. I'm so proud of Coach Peichel and his staff, Ben Asher, everyone, our student athletes. And one thing just to know about our student athletes, they were all really good kids, and they're really great ambassadors of Rutgers University, like you. You know, they're all great ambassadors, and I'm so lucky to have seen that, and I'm so happy for our student athletes. I'm so happy for Rutgers University, not just the men's, the women's made the tournament, right? Wrestling, they had 3 All-Americans for the first time in the same championship, NCAA championship. So just everything combined, Rutgers University, if there's ever a time to buy stock just in the university in general, it is right now.
The Court Club's going to make a meme of that.
Let's
Mike,
go.
thank you so much.
Thank you for all you do for Rutgers, Jordan. Appreciate you.